Happy Monday, all you Minties! This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and join me today for my advanced look at the Daredevil by Charles Soule Omnibus from Marvel Comics. So, let's get started. And welcome back, all you Minties. Now, before getting started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. And this is where it gets interesting, because this is the direct market cover right here that we're looking at. The direct market cover is due out on December 21st. As of this video, that could change. The standard edition cover is due out on January 4th. So it's just the way that distribution and shipping has been working, so hopefully we won't get any further delays, but those are the latest dates that I have. So that's right, we are looking at the direct market cover here by David Lopez. On your left-hand side is the standard edition cover by Phil Noto. And the one thing you'll see is the spine varies depending on which cover you get. So on the standard edition cover, you get that picture of Daredevil. I think that's Mike Deodato Jr. on art. And then you get the spine on the direct market cover, which features Daredevil and Elektra, and that is Adi Granov. Now, everything else is the same besides the cover and the spines. And the back of the book retailing for $125, back where he belongs. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. What does that mean exactly? Back where he belongs. But let's take a look under the dust jacket. Typically under the dust jacket, it's the exact same book, so this is exactly what you'll be seeing under the dust jacket of the standard edition too. But here's that cover by Phil Noto for the standard edition. Here's Daredevil. This is the spine. It's a black spine instead of a white spine. People have asked me what the spine looks like. And then the direct market cover here by David Lopez. So in case you only get the standard edition or the direct market, you still get both covers on the board art. Now, let's take a look at this book, look at the artwork, talk about where it fits in, and talk about the stories without going too much into detail and spoilers. So let's get this opened. Of course, we have some red end pages there. Let's see what the end paper looks like. And then we have this Phil Noto piece right there. And we have some Ron Garney artwork here on the left-hand side. And here are your credits. And kicking it off with All New, All Different, Point One, Blind Spot. And all the different artists that worked on the book. Most of this, of course, written by Charles Soule. There are a couple of different writers that step in, like for the annual. One of them, I think it's Roger McKenzie, doing some of the writing in there. But for the most part, this is all written by Charles Soule. And kicking it off with Marvel Point One, or rather, All New, All Different Point One, and just material from it, introducing us to the new status quo of Daredevil. Now, I am going to be talking about what came before this because it's important to know where Daredevil is. So if you've not read Mark Waid's run, I am going to talk a little bit about it and what he did to change the character of Daredevil. Not going into detail as to how and what exactly happened, but going to talk about some of the things that he did introduce to Daredevil in his run. You know, just in case, put me on mute if you don't want to hear about it. But I do need to talk about it because it's important, because it's so different than what came before it and what this is here. So, in Mark Waid's run, he took Daredevil, Matt Murdock, out of New York City. He took him out of Hell's Kitchen, moved him over to San Francisco, and changed the tone of the book. It wasn't all these horrible things happening to Matt in his life. He actually found a love interest. He found happiness. And now it's Daredevil, right? So he's still going to have some horrible things happen to him. Some dark things happen to him. And there were some bad things, especially what happened with Foggy Nelson. And they kind of grew apart, both Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson. Now, there was something big that Mark Waid did, and that is that he let the identity of Daredevil be known by everybody. So everybody knows that Daredevil is Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer. And there were some people that were upset with the change in that. Like, they didn't appreciate that's what Mark Waid did. And I think a lot of that honestly has to do with Frank Miller. And I say that because Frank Miller introduced us to this really dark take on Daredevil. And ever since then, it seems like that's all we want. And I say we because I'm part of that too. And that is a reason why somebody like Ann Nocenti's run is not appreciated, because it's so different. It's not the dark and grittiness that we're expecting from Daredevil because of Frank Miller. Now, I do love Ann Nocenti's run. I know that varies though out there on the internet, but I mean, it's different opinions. Now, ever since then, though, it seems like each writer has done this dark take on Matt Murdock and his life as Daredevil. And for the first time, it's in a long time, it felt like, well, let's give Matt some light. Let's make him a little bit happy. And by light, I mean even the artist that was working with Mark Waid on that run. And I thought it was different, but it was great. I really enjoyed it. Now, what this does is bring Matt Murdock back home. And I say that not just in comics, but during this time is when the Netflix show Daredevil was coming out, and people were just blown away by it, and the comic books were so different, it didn't feel like the same character. So Marvel created this event, Secret Wars, where everything was just revamped. We had a bunch of all new number ones. We had some creative teams shuffled around. I will come back to this dude that has 10 fingers on each hand. It's actually a big part of the first story arc. And they gave Charles Soule and Ron Garney Daredevil. So Charles Soule does bring Daredevil back home and brings him back to that grittiness and dark that we're used to. And dark is also represented by Ron Garney's artwork in here. He has a very unique style to his art that he's experimenting with during this time. And I think this is my favorite thing that he has drawn. And I've been a big fan of Garney's ever since. He used to do some fill-in issues for X-Men, but he did a whole run with Mark Waid on Captain America, and that to me was just stellar artwork. He brought back to me the classic look of Captain America. But this, oh my goodness. You know, obviously he experimented with some of the chiaroscuro art that Frank Miller probably put on the map. I know people before Frank Miller were doing it, like Eisner on The Spirit, but it seems like Frank Miller really made it completely popular that other artists were mimicking it. But that's what he does here, and it works. It's so good. Now that I've set that up, yes, this run does take place immediately after Mark Waid's run on Daredevil, so after Secret Wars. That's where this run takes place. It kicks off with a brand new number 1. And don't worry, there's going to be some renumbering. And this puts Matt back in Hell's Kitchen. He has this new protege named Blind Spot, and he's training him. Now, Blind Spot isn't really blind. He just has a suit that he can make himself invisible. And Matt is trying to figure out who this new crime family is in New York. But this guy right here that runs it, named 10 Fingers, is telling him that he's not an enemy, that he's actually a church, which actually works more like a cult, that he's trying to make the world a better place, or New York City a better place. And Matt's not buying it, right? Because he sees a lot of the magic that 10 Fingers can use, and he immediately thinks of the Hand, and that's who is involved, is the Hand, of course. Seems like 10 Fingers got a lot of his magic from the Hand, and then the Hand wants it back, and all hell breaks loose in Matt's life again. But at least, hey, he's got a new sidekick. He hates calling him a sidekick, but he does have a new protege in his life. So much like Stick training Matt Murdock to become Daredevil, Daredevil is training Blind Spot to become whatever man he wants to be. So it's an interesting dynamic between both of them. And that's pretty much the setup. And 10 Fingers, of course, it's a pretty interesting take on this character. Yeah, it looks goofy, but I promise it makes sense. Because his belief is that if you work for him, if you are with him, if you're family, then if you succeed, you earn a finger. So a finger is added to your hand. Now, if you fail, they will take away fingers, and that's how that works. It's kind of a weird cult thing, but this all takes place in Chinatown, and there's this huge war that breaks out, and this is what the artwork looks like. Now, Ron Garney does most of the artwork in here, And honestly, that's all I will say about the setup. That's all really you need to know. This does take place after Mark Waid's run and before Chip Zdarsky run. This does take place after Mark Waid's run and before Chip Zdarsky's run. And there is another issue that takes place before that, and that is the one-shot, or it's a 5-issue miniseries by Jed MacKay, and it's called Daredevil the Man Without Fear. Not to be confused with Frank Miller's Daredevil Man Without Fear. So we do have returning characters. Elektra comes back with a deep, dark secret. So it's not just bringing Matt back to Hell's Kitchen, but it's also bringing back a lot of his supporting cast. A lot of his enemies are back here. There's Echo right here. I believe this is part of the annual. Captain America shows up, but it's not really Captain America because keep in mind, this again takes place after Secret Wars. It's Agent Steve Rogers. So all of this collects Daredevil 1 through 28. Again, it's the new renumbering system. And then they go back to the legacy numbering. So we have Daredevil 595 to 612, annual number 1, which is the 2016 annual. I know we've had Daredevil annuals before with that number. Daredevil Punisher, the 4-issue miniseries, which is what we're looking at here. This is the 7th Circle, and it features Crimson Dynamo. And then it has material from All New, All Different Marvel .1. And that's what is collected in here. This is the biggest Daredevil Omnibus, though. It is 1,216 pages long. So it is bigger than Shadowland, which I thought was bigger than this for some reason. And like I mentioned, Blind Spot does have a big role to play in most of this. This right here is one of the creepiest stories I've read in Daredevil. And this introduces us to this new villain named Muse. And another interesting thing to note is how much of the Marvel Universe impacts every little corner, including this world right here of Matt Murdock, a street-level type of character. Because you have the Inhumans and you have the Terrigen Mist coming down and affecting humans. But anyway, there's this character that's introduced here that is creepy as hell, and he's known as Muse. And he's an artist / serial killer, and this is what he does. He poses dead bodies. These are Inhumans right here. And this is what he looks like. I mean, that is a creepy looking dude. And he does have some kind of powers, of course. But he is a serial killer / artist. So he does a lot of artsy things with the people that he kills and he harms. Mutilating people. And he's a creepy character. This was a really good story. So I just finished reading this. I had only read the first 6 issues of this series, and I wanted to read the omnibus, so it took me about a month and a half in between reading other things, of course. But I just wrapped it up last night, and damn, hard to hold my thoughts in after wrapping this story up. Now, for people that are wondering, wait a minute, during Mark Waid's run, everybody knew that he was Daredevil. I promise everything is fixed here, or everything is, I don't want to say retcon, because there are things that Charles Soule does that I think adds to the story without so much as retconning, if that makes sense. But yes, everything, all your questions are answered here. Not in the first two arcs, but slowly and surely you will see a lot of answers come up. Matt gets to go to the Supreme Court right there. This is the Land of the Blind storyline, which, reintroduces the Hand again, but introduces us to more characters from the Hand that were created by Charles Soule, or ideas created by Charles Soule. And there's a lot of creepy imagery in this particular story, too. Then we have this huge last 2 stories that focus more on the relationship between Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk. Because during this time, Matt Murdock is not only back in Hell's Kitchen, but he's also a district attorney now. So it's a little bit different than the roles that he's played in the past, and he's having to kind of balance his life as a superhero and a DA. Now, in the last 2 story arcs with Wilson Fisk, things are about to change. And I'm not spoiling what exactly, but Matt wants to take down the Kingpin one last time. So he gathers a team of superheroes, street-level superheroes, of course, to take down the Kingpin. And it all leads to the big showdown in issue 600. And then there's a huge change in something that happens in the status quo to the Kingpin that It was a what the hell kind of moment, including for Matt. I think the exact quote, since I just read the story arc last night, was, wait, what? That's exactly how they ended the cliff, that one particular issue that led into the next big reveal. And holy crap, yeah. That's interesting. Now, I've been reading Chip Zdarsky's run, so of course it was spoiled for me, so I knew it was coming. But to be reading this at the time, it would have completely shocked me. And the same kind of thing has happened in the pages of Superman, in the pages of Spider-Man. But yeah, it was a really damn good story. And then we have Dan Mora doing some of the artwork in the back. So it's not just Ron Garney, right? He's accompanied by phenomenal artists. And then the last story arc is done by the legendary Phil Noto for the most part. And I just wanted to showcase a little bit of this artwork here by Phil Noto. I don't want to spoil anything, because this last story arc I thought was a really good wrap-up to Charles Soule's run. And it's something that we've seen before in comics or in movies. And I think it's really interesting the way that he approached it, reintroducing a character from Matt's past, an obscure character that Matt, well, never mind, I'll leave that for you to find out who I'm talking about. And then introducing a newer villain called the Vigil. And it all plays a big part in this last story arc. And I thought it was done with some class. I thought this was a damn good story. Yeah, this guy right here, the Vigil, that I didn't see coming. And then it leaves it open for a holy crap moment. And that's all I will say about that. As far as the extras in the back, and I'm sure you probably noticed as I was flipping through here, a lot of the variants are done on the opposite side of the standard edition covers. But we do have a whole set of variants in the back here. We have the goodbye letter from Charles Soule, talking about what to read next after his run. How to draw Daredevil in 6 Easy Steps by Chip Zdarsky, of course. And then these covers right here. Now, there are a couple of spoilery covers, so I'm going to skip those. But just take a look at what these covers look like. And I love these right here. Love these type of covers. Love that idea. And there's the Ida Granov covers I was talking about. This is the one that makes up the spine, but you have both of these. This is for issue 600. And then this is the, I believe this is the Frank Miller cover. And some more covers here. That's Dan Mora. I thought that was Jeffrey Scott Campbell at first. There's the Deadpool cover. Then I skipped a couple of them, and then this is the TV variant. Now, this being the biggest omnibus for Daredevil, let's see what this binding looks like. So this was printed at the Donnelly printer. Here's what the eye looks like. And as I mentioned, this having 1,216 pages, that I mean, it could get bigger after some read-throughs, and I've only done it one read-through of this. I'm sure I'll go back one day and read it, and it'll get bigger. That might be a whole dissolutional thing on my part, as far as going back and rereading some of these stories. But the book lays over rather nice. You do have some gutter loss, though. So let me just show you a spread page. Here's a spread page from issue number 3, so you can get a better idea as to what that looks like. Here it is, how it lays over. So you do have just a little bit of a gutter loss. Not much, but I did notice some. Now, to those of you paying attention, wondering, wait a minute, I've never heard of this blind spot guy. Where is he? Hey, Night Nurse. That's right, she does make an appearance. Well, you gotta read what happens to the character if he makes it through, if he gets a happy ending. But yeah, there are just a little bit of gutter loss throughout the book. Not a deal breaker to a lot of people, I know, but I did want to point that out. As far as the paper, it's a little thinner. Honestly, the Donnelly printers have been printing books just with a little bit of thinner paper. Nothing too terrible, like the Kurt Busiek Conan Omnibus, or the, what was it, the Donny Cates Cosmic Omnibus, I think, that just had the really thin paper. Nothing like that, but just not what I'm accustomed to from the Donnelly printer. But I did want to point that out. I didn't have an issue. I read the whole thing, and none of the art from the opposite side bothered me. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this book, don't forget to check out our sponsor, who's having a Black Friday sale starting this Thursday on Thanksgiving. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely in an excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out the bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they are now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. CGN is currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is valid for U.S. customers only. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and the build of this omnibus, as well as where it fits in to the reading order of Daredevil. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. If you have any more questions, let me know them down below. If you read Charles Soule's run on Daredevil, what you thought about it, did you like it? Did you hate it? Were you indifferent with it? And what's your favorite run on Daredevil? I'm always curious to see what people's favorite run on Daredevil is. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and ring that bell for notifications. We are on Spreadshop and on Patreon. Amazing ways to support the channel if you can do so. And thank you so much to our existing patrons. Could not be making videos like this possible without you all. And more importantly, all of you, stay healthy and safe out there, and much love.